and with all the respect in the world to one of the GOATs, The Rock, it looks like the options that we have here within the roster are even better.
I'm here with Royal Rumble winner 2023. Cody Rhodes has punched his ticket to WrestleMania like many of us hoped he would. Man, let's just, before I get into the return, let's just talk through actually realizing the moment, man. Like when you're actually there in the ring, on the way back, perhaps going back to your family, you think all those months of rehab, all of that pain and stress. And the first step, we'll call it, it's not the end destination, right? But the first step on the comeback was achieved.
There are things that you feel like will be more, I guess, commonplace when you say them in your mind. Oh, I want to win the Royal Rumble, and I want to go on last and be in the main event of WrestleMania. When you say them and you're ambitious and you have goals, that they don't come out the same as when it actually happens. And for me, I'm so glad that there was 60 yards or whatever running to the ring and then obviously coming back, because I really did get to think about things are going to change. This is a life-changing moment. And then when I came back through the curtain, just a little kind of inside situation that developed was my friend who works in talent relations, John Cohn. He stood next to me and he had a giant book and he said, "Are you ready for this?" And what he meant was the amount of media that potentially would follow, but also every step of the way. And to hear it from him, because he was a referee in OVW, we had come up together. It was very, I won't say sobering. It was that's probably the nicest thing I could have heard. And there's nothing really nice or romantic about those words, but I knew what they meant. Are you ready for this? And I just said, yes, let's go. And it's becoming more real every day. Obviously, I'm an emotional guy. I was on the bump the other day talking with Kayla and Matt, and I get very emotional at the idea of what's about to happen, but gotta reel that into a degree. And remember, we did all this training, months and months of rehab, in addition to strength training and the dietitian and everything that we had on board with us at the Nightmare Factory. Now we've got to do it at an even higher level. Best way to put it, the work isn't done.
Let's talk about the return a little bit, because to me, one of my favorite returns from, injury, and he went on to win the Rumble, was Triple H, right, in 2002. And there was some kind of parallels where you had the training videos, Triple H had the Beautiful Day set up, but you kind of had the, your own thing leading up to this Rumble. But I still kind of triggered my mind, right? Like, and I loved it, right? So what was the thinking behind that? Was it all kind of very deliberate? Was there ever an idea that you would come back? Because obviously Triple H came to TV before he actually won the Rumble, right? Whereas you just came back at the Rumble. So was it a big, well thought out thing like I'm thinking it is, Cody? Is there any kind of parallels there, or was it how you wanted it?
I mean, obviously, I'm not in charge of anything here. I'm a man on the roster, and I want to be the top man. But in the case of the video packages, the vignettes, and the build-up, that was, and I think it's an okay thing to share, that was Triple H's idea. And the team around him, WWE is always super anonymous in terms of the team, but I have to shout out, Colleen, JB, Adam Panucci, Ben Williams, these guys who put these videos together, because this is my situation is unique in a sense that I do not play a character. I don't even think I'm one of those turned up to 11. I am me always. And that's a little scary. That's intimidating if you're saying that he's coming back at the Royal Rumble. I'm coming back at the Royal Rumble and everybody needs to get off the mountain, or whatever it is that I said. Really, you're putting yourself in a situation where you best deliver. And I thought that they covered my journey in such a real way. It's hard just to look at videos of yourself and be anything but a huge critic. I'm very critical of my things, but I loved what they did. I do love there was a parallel with as we all know, Beautiful Day. And I got to have the score did such a good job with Born for This, and it's a fun package. Plus Pharaoh got to be in the video. He's always at the gym anyways. Sometimes, and this is more just in general, I think sometimes it's nice if as a wrestler, as a superstar competitor, to call your shot. But it's also risky when you call your shot. Joe Namath called his shot. Babe Ruth, they called their shots. I'm not saying I'm those individuals, but again, in our world, Triple H called his shot. And it's very important to me to keep your word with the fans, especially now. It's just as I've gotten older, keeping your word. And I felt I kept my word. I showed up in the best shape of my freaking life, and I was able to get it done.
And that's the thing as well. Like, I was there for WrestleMania last year and the Raw after, and, you know, such a red hot return, man. So great. Obviously, great few months. You leave with the Hell in a Cell match, stock highest maybe it's ever been, right? Everyone was just clamoring for Cody Rhodes. But then a lot's changed while you were gone. We'll get to the Sami Zayn aspect of that. But firstly, Vince checks out and Triple H checks in. What was that like for you, kind of, you know, because maybe you had one idea or how things might be when you were going, but then a new creative comes in. Obviously, Triple H, someone you're very familiar with. It's great, but I'm just wondering if that was something you needed to have talked about, or, you know, or was you just squarely focused on recovery? I'm just wondering.
Well, one of the really nice things was the amount of communication. It's scary when you're, it's already a downtrodden, melancholy situation when you're injured and you're on your couch. And this is this happened very quickly. I'm not really up and moving, and I'm not hitting the weights, and I'm not in that process of getting near coming back. At the time when the transition happened, I wasn't even close to coming back, and I was communicated with every step of the way. I was communicated with by Vince. I was communicated with by Triple H. I've been able to, that was very nice. I was never left in the dark on anything. And obviously these are different visions and they change. But for me, I did something that is important is my transaction needs to be simple. I don't need to get caught up in whatever's happening behind the scenes. Those stories can be fun, but I need my story on the screen to be the more important story. And for that to happen, I need to be at the very best as a superstar, best as a wrestler, because then the other stuff will come. Then the other stuff will come. You won't have to worry about, well, he liked me. Does he like me? Does she like me? Do they like me? You know, it's the best I could be was to be the best I could be. And it was very, I did not notice any elements of the transition that were chaotic. Everyone communicated with me, and as a wrestler entering his prime, but also a veteran wrestler, that makes you feel very wanted, very needed, and made me feel, filled me up, you know, gave me confidence as I was moving forward the rehab.
Awesome. You know, I did just mention Sami Zayn then. Right now, we've got it where it is. Cody is taking on whoever, I guess, the undisputed Universal Heavyweight Champion would be, but Roman Reigns is what it is currently. In the interim, you know, the Bloodline's a great story. There's no getting around it. It has been wildly entertaining. There were rumors of The Rock, right? That's been going for years of, you know, is he going to come back and challenge Roman, particularly it being Hollywood? What did you make of, you know, all that, I guess, outside noise? I mean, on one side, right? I guess you'd love to work with The Rock yourself in one capacity down the road, if that was ever a thing. But, you know, you obviously squarely focused on Roman, but there's so much going on. Have you been acutely aware, I guess, of the fan clamor for Sami kind of running parallel with everyone wanting to see you win the title that your dad never did? Like, they're both stories that fans love. But man, like in that interim where you were injured, Sami's just kind of got red hot.
Yeah, I actually, I love that you bring it up as these stories are running parallel. I think sometimes wrestling fans might think it's got to be one, it's got to be the other. Whereas I subscribe, and I'm not in charge. I'm not. I subscribe to the idea of give them everything, and you know that's where it really takes smart planners and creative individuals and how you layer it. But one thing that's very important, and this is just something I learned, especially when I was away, is that if someone's doing great, if they're doing wonderful, if they're entertaining and they're helping move that ship forward. I'd actually say Seth Rollins on Raw is another example of somebody who was really, as I was gone, changed and continued to kind of carry Raw on his back. I was fully expecting for all these things to converge, and still I fully expect for all these things to converge, just because we have these wonderful options. And with all the respect in the world to one of the GOATs, The Rock, it looks like the options that we have here within the roster are even better because of the stories that are happening. One story about finishing something that happened in 1978, 7 years before I was even born, and wrapping that up. Another story about, the tragedy of being welcomed into the bloodline, and then as you saw, what unfolds. I think with the amount of time between now and WrestleMania, it's important that I keep my eyes fixed squarely on WrestleMania and squarely on wrestling for the WWE Undisputed Championship. And I think you hinted at it, and maybe this is the case. That might not be against Roman Reigns. Now, I don't know if anyone can beat Roman Reigns. I truly don't. But for me, it's about picking up the chip. I love melodrama. I love the heaviness in these stories that develop in our industry. But I'm very simply a man who is looking for a belt, looking for a championship title belt, the most important one in our world, the biggest in all, not even within the WWE bubble, in all the bubbles, and being the first to say, as a Rhodes did it, and it wasn't Dusty Rhodes, and it wasn't Dustin Rhodes. It was Cody Rhodes.
That's very cool. I know I've only got a couple left before I'm going to have to let you go, being the busy, in-demand man that you are, Cody.
Sorry, I always have such long answers. I hope I didn't.
No, these are good. Long. This is the money. You've done it. Don't worry about it. Obviously, a lot of people, and I thought this was cool. Big Ricky Starks fan myself. He was there to support you at the Rumble, right? Like, kind of.
Yeah. What an idiot, though. Like, yeah. Listen, it's one of those things where the locker rooms have crossover. People are married to other people in other locker rooms. People are friends. This is a kid that I started on his journey at my former home, and I obviously want to follow and see his journey. But I will say, if it's probably best that none of my friends come and visit me at the shows anymore. Just, we don't need security cam footage of that. Poor dude. I hope he didn't get in any trouble. And I don't think he did. He was there to support a friend who had been absolutely down and out with the pec injury. And Ricky was one of the guys who nursed me through it to a degree and helped remind me of who I can be. So I was happy to have him. And I had some other friends there. The other friends stayed on the bus because they're not crazy yahoos. But yeah, hopefully that we can maybe we just watch each other at a distance. I don't want to cause any strife between any places. We all love the same thing. It's the squared circle. It's the wrestling industry. And I got to remember, I always think I don't have any rules. There are rules. So,
I mean, I kind of brought that up to say this, like, if and hoping that we do get that magic moment at WrestleMania, I kind of would like to see you, Dustin, the whole family together, man, celebrating it. Like, is that a plausible thing to think about?
Well, it's not something. Dustin and I have a very unique relationship. Very unique. It's almost like we're at our optimum, at our peak as brothers when we're together in the ring. I think we've both very settled on the idea that we never want to tag team with each other ever again, because as much fun as we had, we were at each other's throats. But we're at a point where I love my brother so much. And as I get closer to this, I think about him every day. I really do. And that would be special. It would take some people getting along to agree, but that also is very cart before horse, because currently what stands in front of me, and I mean, there's no hyperbole in what I say, is Roman Reigns. That's currently what stands in front of me. As he refers to himself, God tier. That this guy is the best of the best in terms of strength, in terms of conditioning, in terms of, I mean, 800 something days. Can't be argued. If you're making a list and he's number one, your list ain't real. Can't be argued. And I'm not thinking about any type of victory lap or celebration other than I'm thinking about making sure I don't get hit square in the mouth with a Superman punch.
Absolutely. Just to close here, last one. Now that you all are back in the company, I don't know if I got to ask you this last year or if anybody did, but the Dusty Rhodes Classic, man, have you had a chance to speak to anyone about being involved with that? Or because obviously it was kept alive while you were away, which again I thought was very cool to begin with. Just wondered if that was something that you would want to be involved with again now that you're back, because obviously you handed the first one over and all stuff like that,
For all things Dusty Rhodes, the A&E biography that I was able to be the executive producer on.
That's cool.
His story that is coming soon, hopefully before WrestleMania itself, to see the full story. Not to mention the Dusty Rhodes Classic. One of the things that was obviously very appealing for me is you're never not your father or your mother's son, and it is important to me. He cannot be there to protect and explain and defend his legacy. So that was always a huge thing that was on the table that is obviously very appealing to me, being here and coming back to WWE. So when it comes to the Dusty Rhodes Classic, I'd love to do anything involved. Obviously, it's more NXT, and that's where we're developing, like I was saying on Raw, tomorrow, superstars today. You want to keep it in their wheelhouse, but I'd be more than glad to hand potentially Pretty Deadly that trophy, or a different team, because so much is going on that's good down there. Shawn Michaels has done an incredible job and continues to do. But I'd love all things Dusty. I just want to make sure he's represented fairly, because for a good time in the business, he wasn't. And WWE has done a really great job of letting you know what he did, how he did it, and how it still affects what we do.
Well, the ultimate road to the ultimate representation, I'm just throwing puns in here, I don't even mean, is on the way after the Royal Rumble victory. Cody, I always mean this, man. You're one of my favorite guys to talk to. How it is, always. Thank you very much, brother. And I can't wait to see how this all unfolds.
I can't either. Thank you so much. This is where the fun begins. So let's do it.
And so I'm listening, and then all this press and media is slowly coming. It's literally looking like they're moving up, and right as they got a little closer, he just patted me on the shoulder. He turned around and he walked off into the darkness. Like there was no hotel, there was no thing, and it was like Batman. It was legit like Batman, because there were people like, where'd he go? And he was gone.